Hi, I'm George Olney, and I'd like to give you an overview of our contract management system. Again, as you've probably seen in Framework, you can actually go and search contracts through the contract screen, or you can add new contracts through the create. I'm going to go ahead and search contracts now. Say I'm looking for my contracts and I wanted to see all my signed contracts. I could quickly just pull up the signed contracts button and say where the signed contract is yes, and now I can see all my signed contracts. And then I can drill into those signed contracts if I would like. Or I could say, let's say I want to see all the contracts to this Adept vendor. I could just pick that Adept vendor, boom, as simple as that. I see all the open contracts. Now, I can do this at the contract header level or detail, and the detail level would show me commodities and releases. So let me go ahead and open up my contract screen and give you some details on what makes our contract screen leading, class, best in market. The first thing is, you know that you can always go to a contract and you can duplicate. From an ease of use perspective, it's really important that you can duplicate with sequence and without sequence and with cost. Really quick way to do that. The second thing is you can print and email any documents in our system. So if I have a contract and I want to print it, I can just hit print, send it to the printer, or I could email the contract. Now when I email the contract, it's interesting. The system has gone out to find the contacts in the vendor who are supposed to receive the email for contracts, and it addresses the contract email to them. It actually sends them with a nice subject that says, here's the contract number, and it actually sends a hyperlink to our portal and attaches the contract, and it actually opens it up for view. So from the respect of allowing our customer to easily see contracts, you can do so very quickly. You can also even let them log in with electronic approval, which is pretty cool. So that's the first part about emailing and printing. That's a high level of what we can do. Another nice thing that we've incorporated is straight through processing. When you process a contract, if nothing's wrong, you can immediately take a contract to an inventory receipt or a shipment, assuming it's not going over the scale. If it was going over the scale, the contract would have to go to logistics and shipment. So this is just an easy way to facilitate processing from the contract. From the contract, I can load schedule, meaning I can take this actual contract out to a load. I can capture quality in the same screen. So if I wanted to get quality reports, I could do that, as well as anything else relevant to this contract I can pretty much do from this screen. Now, one unique thing from our contract perspective is our contracts do have contract statuses and they have multiple sequences for a contract. So basically what you're seeing here is a contract with 3 line items that could have different delivery dates, could have different pricing, could have different basis, but they're all tied and wrapped under the same contract, which is quite nice from an effective and speed perspective. Now, once I enter a contract, it can go through a full submission process, multi-level approval. This contract did not need approval, but other contracts may need approval prior to acting on the contract. The other piece that we've attached is document management system and full access to a history tab that shows you what has happened to this contract. In this case, this contract has just been initiated. All right. So that's an overview of what can be done at the highest level, right? The next thing that we're going to talk about is how our contract is broken up inside the system. One nice thing is you do have the ability to access templates, which pre-fill information. We'll go through a detailed session on that. Each contract, whether it be a purchase or sale contract, is able to be selected independently on the screen. Entities are one topic that's quite unique about our system. A person making a purchase can also sell you things, so they don't need to be categorized as a customer or a vendor. They can be both inside of our system. Our commodity is assigned at the contract level, and that allows you to create contracts by commodity and then actually break grades as you process the contract. So you can start to do a forecasted contract for your high-level commodity, but then as you receive, you can break it into the grades at which you're going to receive them at. Okay, so a lot of depth of function in there from the header and detail level of the contract. Other elements that you'll see at the detail level of the contract is that we can configure this screen to hit only the information you want. Now there's hundreds of fields that we can track at the detail level, but here you see we brought this screen down to only a specific number of fields, like the futures, the basis, the start and end date of the delivery, the location I'm delivering to the commodity. We've really simplified this view. Now, if this was certified product, there might be other elements that need to be tracked. So we do have the ability to extend this significantly should your industry or commodity require, right? And this sequence level breakout is nice because, as I said, in your position, you can start to break out delivery quantities easily to different dates. The other nice thing is it is a little more overhead to create sequences, but really less than creating contracts for each line item. The one thing that we've done nicely is the ability to slice lines. So let's say you create a contract for 7,500 or 1,000, 10,000, and you want to slice it into multiple deliveries. You can use the slice feature to take one line and rip it out to 5 lines. You can also directly load schedule shipments. So if I had this contract with a specific actual delivery date, I could load schedule that particular item simply by clicking load schedule. Now, let's say I've created a basis or a fixed contract for a basis. I can also price this contract straight from the contract screen. So as you can see, this gives me a plethora of information to be able to look at from a contract perspective. It allows me to easily do my job, right? Pretty simply. The other piece that's very nice from the perspective of contract is we do maintain other costs with each sequence of delivery. So if you had transportation costs that you wanted to accrue from a general ledger perspective, you could load those up by actual delivery, and you could accrue those, which means create a voucher for them to pay the vendor. You can tag the vendor that you're going to pay, like ABC Trucking. If it's an internal fleet, you don't pay anybody, but you still might accrue and price it. Now, pricing it means from this vendor, it's going to deduct the amount of the transportation to the vendor. So quite a nice feature from that perspective. The other thing that the contract allows us to do from a cost perspective is it allows us to break the basis costs into multiple components. So when we do have a basis cost, we're able to see how much of the basis is due to any particular component, such as freight or other features inside the system. So from that respect, a very simple overview of what our contract processing does. I hope this answers some of your questions.